What's going on, Eagles Nation? It's your boy Showtime 804 coming back at you, back at it like we never left. Go ahead, hit that sub button, hit that subscribe, tell your friends, subscribe too, like, comment. We can keep this thing going. So, end of the season, here we are. It definitely was not the season that we could have imagined in any form possible. Um, just happy that it's over with. To be honest with you, now we head to this off season. It's going to be filled with turmoil. This is probably going to be the most interesting off season that we've faced since the demise of Chip Kelly, and our team is facing a lot of flack. Um, Mainly caused by the media, a lot of clickbait material, and everybody's got their selves in uproar based upon the decision that we made to pretty much tank the game. And that just goes to show, I think Doug Peterson pretty much has won his welcome out. Um, I just don't see his ability to lead the football team. Now, if Doug was somewhat more blunt and upfront with his approach, as opposed to the G shucks, what am I doing? You know, to hype your players up in order to win the game, um, then to turn around and make the decision that he made in regards to going with Nate Sudfeld in that fourth quarter on Sunday night's game, and especially with the world watching as to how we did it. A lot of teams, week 17, they start resting their players. Anybody that holds any kind of merit or any value to the team, you don't want them going into an off season rehabbing injuries, especially serious injuries at that. You kind of want them specifically training. And Doug's reasoning for going with Nate Sudfeld was, he wanted to win the game and put himself in the best chance. At that point, Doug pretty much lost everyone with that comment. Um, and he looks like a puppet because if that was a direction from Howie or the higher ups to, try to go ahead and get that draft pick, then you either start Nate Sudfeld or you start him at the half. But don't pull Jalen Hurts. And the decisions that he made as far as, again, his situational football is coming to play, where you're going for it on fourth down inside the 10-yard line. This is the same guy who settled for a tie earlier in the year, so his whole trying to win mantra goes out of the window because clearly there have been certain cases where Doug isn't trying to win. He's trying to prove a point. And with the Jim Schwartz thing, the no hats on the field, he didn't want any team to celebrate. I found that a bunch of BS as well because you had 16 other weeks to ensure that no other team could wear, a divisional championship material on your field. So you can't wait till you're a 4-10 team to decide to get that type of sense of urgency. That type of urgency should have came at the bye week. Um, and it just goes to show this team, coaching staff, front office, it's time to blow it all up. They've ran their course. And more so with Doug as opposed to anyone else. People are calling him this leader of men, and I just don't see it. It really looks like he was hanging on the last little bit of thread of Frank Reich. This offense looked completely different starting at the beginning of the year towards the end of the year. And looking at the play calling, we've been screaming for trick plays throughout the entire season. 2 running back sets. You wait till week 17 to pull this all out. We've been clamoring for a change at the kick returner spot, and then we see Jason Hundley start returning kicks this week. And again, it's just more of the same with Doug. He just doesn't show the aptitude and qualifications to, hold that head coaching job. Those reports that came out in 2016 are showing more and more true that Doug was the worst coaching hire. Now, mind you, he did have a Super Bowl to go off of that, but it looks like that was more a part of the surrounding cast around him as opposed to him doing it himself. With Frank Wright and John DiFilippo, those two are showing much more a crucial part of success with that team. And again, Doug arrogance, letting Frank Reich leave and not promptly promoting Filippo into that role, inserting him into that offensive coordinator role. Doug took it upon himself. It was, well, I'm going to bring my own guys in and have them do that. And now we're in the process. We're possibly going to lose Deuce this year. I don't think he can just sit around as their running back coach with the assistant head coach title any longer. It's just, what is that? And when he has the ability to coach his own team, whether it's going to be in the NFL or in the NCAA. And just looking back at this season, Travis Fulgham, outside of that 4 game stretch from week 8 to, I want to say, week 4 to week 8, and saw a decreased role on offense, mainly because Doug came out of his mouth and said that once Alshon come back, Fulgham had to take a back seat. That's not the thinkings of a good head coach. I'm sorry, it's just not. And you go with your hot hand, and he always talking about using players that give us the best position, the best chance to win. Fulgham was playing lights out at the time, and he was on pace for, I believe, maybe 12 to 1,300 yards on the season, double-digit touchdowns, and you put him on the bench. And even at that point, going into last week, Fulgham still led all wide receivers. I think he was leading the entire team as far as yards, even taking, only taking 20% of the snaps outside of week 8. Let that sink into you. That just tells you this team was just not constructed well. And now all eyes are on Howie Roseman and Doug. And they especially Doug, sitting there, he said he can fix what's wrong with the team. The best way for Doug to fix this team is to get off this team. With Howie, I kind of see him going into the Joe Banner role, probably team president, and John Dorsey is going to take over the general manager duties, which I have no problem with doing that. John Dorsey is a guy who's shown that he can build up teams. Looking at his last 2 stops at Kansas City and then Cleveland, he built those teams up through the draft, and look at them now. That both of those teams are playing in the playoffs. Kansas City more recent success. And it was a time. It was a time for a change, because now with 31% of our cap allocated to the defensive line, having a new defensive coordinator come in, I'm all for it. Don't want to see any internal hires. We need to tear down this wide 9 with this single high safety mess. Just get it out of here and just get a new scheme. And that, you're going to see some of the defensive linemen off the team, because we don't place an emphasis on that front 4 getting that pressure. Now you can bring somebody who can kind of scheme up pressure, sending linebackers and safeties and corners for that. So that's what I'm looking for as far as getting a fresh set of eyes as a D coordinator role. Offensive coordinator, like I said, I think you need to just get rid of Doug, bring a whole new offense in. I don't know internal hires. Even if Deuce is a candidate, I don't want to see it. We need a brand new offense, a completely different offense, and hopefully the Carson Wentz is still your quarterback, because even with Carson not playing the last 4 weeks, he still led the division as far as most touchdowns, and he was playing bad. And there were actually 2 games in which he didn't have a touchdown at all, and he still led the division as far as touchdowns. And a lot of people are harping about, the way Jalen Hurts is playing. We were still 1-3. His numbers were bad. The only excitement that you saw from him was the ability that he had to run. As far as him throwing the ball and actually being a quarterback, it was lackluster. It was very pedestrian-like. And like I said, his just the spark came just because of his legs. And there's comparing the 2 numbers, you hear a lot of critics and even our own fans, oh, he only played 4 games. Yeah, but those 4 games, we were 1-3. Now, carry that over throughout the course of a 16-game season. You still only have about 4 wins. And completing 52% of your passes, that's not going to cut it. It's turning the ball over, turnovers in the red zone. The same things that people criticize Carson Wentz over, Jalen Hurts did those same mistakes. So it's not just about the player. It is the coach. It is the scheme. All of those things go hand in hand. And another thing about Jalen Hurts, people are talking about his leadership, whereas he did a little bit of backtracking this week. in regards to criticizing and throwing the head coach under the bus. Now Carson Wentz played the good soldier all year long. Never badmouth Doug in any form or fashion. Especially with Doug not playing to Carson Wentz's strengths. For Jalen Hurts to come out and say that he was shocked that he came out of the game, only to recant that statement to say that he did know the plan, and a couple of other guys knew the plan moving forward about you know them going with Sudfeld. So he knew that. So why would you throw your head coach under the bus? And now players are speaking out. So it's almost like the same way we criticize T.O. for trying to run a mutiny on the team. Jalen Hurts is doing the same thing, bringing out those comments that led Miles Sanders to speak out about it. And Carson Wentz is still taking heat. The man hasn't taken a snap since the Green Bay game. You're talking almost 5 weeks ago, and he's still taking heat where people are criticizing, mainly the ESPN analyst, Marcus Spears, to say that, he didn't want to play when he was a healthy scratch. That decision isn't made by the player. That's made by coaches, the front office. We know that Howie has rumors that he makes the call as who's active on game day. So what football player is going to tell you, "Oh, I don't want to play this week"? They set 12 starters this week. Alshon Jeffrey was a healthy inactive. Deshaun Jackson, another inactive. No one better than I to criticize them why they chose not to play. Now, between those two, I really think that was their choice, that they didn't want to play. And, we're hearing that Carson Wentz didn't, want to speak to the media. Of course, he's emotional and he's frustrated. He didn't want to talk to the media because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing. And, people are talking about he should own up to the reports, either refute them or agree with them. No one said anything about when Alshon Jeffrey was making anonymous quotes. No one better than I. No one threw him in the media and said, "Oh, he needs to do this and he needs to do that." No, they just let it go. Some topics just don't need conversation. And if the team forces him out, then it's best to leave certain things unsaid. He probably will, air it all out once he leaves, but I don't see him as being that type of person. Moving forward, he is your better option at quarterback. Trade Jalen Hurts. We're going to need pieces. Unless you're going for a full-fledged rebuild mode, you don't want to stick that young quarterback back there. You're going to need a veteran quarterback with a new scheme and things like that. That's what Carson Wentz is going to take place. And then, the report said he's open to, fixing what's wrong, but he just needs some time to step away from football. That's not a time to attack his character. The man's doing what he feels best is for himself. And at the end of the day, like I said, we're all Philadelphia Eagles fans. Be the fan. Yes, we have our own favorite players. It happens. I was in favor of keeping Vic over Nick Foles. Nick Foles just didn't show you what he could do outside of that 1 year, the 2013 year. And yes, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, but outside of that, what has he done? People always bring up, "Oh, what has Carson Wentz done?" You don't get to the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. It's just not going to happen. Nick Foles has never played 16 games. Nick Foles was benched for Gardner Minshew and Mitchell Trubisky and traded for Sam Bradford. Think about that for a second. So we're going to have some changes on this team, and the changes aren't going to be pretty. Like I said, the way Jim Schwartz left to basically, I'm going to quit, I'm going to retire, than to stick around with this foolishness. Because that's what we've turned into. We've turned into foolishness on the gridiron. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. So now, we go into the draft. Hopefully we have our scouts lined up, ready to go. Wide receiver. We need an impact wide receiver. If you're going to have a quarterback, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, I don't care who the quarterback is, you're going to need that stud wide receiver. So with that, we're going to head into this offseason, watch some of these playoffs, and see how some teams should be ran that I wish the Eagles would operate. But until then, fly, Eagles, fly.